Hello and welcome to the Animation Kimmunication podcast, your source for discussion about animation, film, fandom, and more. So please join our host, I Love Kim Possible a Lot, or KP, and Riddle of Lightning, Riddle or Josh, for today's discussion. If you like what you hear, please remember to show support by giving a like, follow, as well as subscribing to the main I Love Kim Possible a Lot channel on YouTube. Spread the word, and thank you for being part of our community. This episode contains some mild adult language.
Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Animation Kimmunication episode, where it's just me and Riddle again, just chilling. So, you want to say...
It's going to be a cozy episode.
It's cozy time, grab... it's too hot for hot chocolate, but, grab a cold chocolate. Yeah, what is cold chocolate? Ice cream, I guess? Or...
That's a good idea.
What's the cold coffees? Iced coffees, right?
Iced mocha.
Yeah, I don't drink coffee, so I don't know what things are called, so...
Bean juice.
Bean juice, okay. Is that the professional wording?
Yes.
Okay, so grab some bean juice, I guess, or, a popsicle. Well, they have those...
Well, what's your favorite popsicle? I like blue.
Blue? Just blue?
You don't describe them by the colors they are and not the flavors? There's blue, there's purple.
I was gonna say, did you grow up, Riddle, with the popsicles that were just like the big long plastic things?
Yeah, the Freezy Pops. My little brother loved them to death.
I mean, blue is the correct answer, though. That's
yes.
The only answer I will allow.
You have to get every little drop out of it, so you're just slurping in them, and then you blow them up, and then you slurp them again.
Yeah, I would just eat the ice cream part. Not the ice cream. I'd eat the ice part of it first, and then I could drink the rest of the blue, like a drink. So.
Yeah, but there'd always be a little bit at the bottom, so you had to get it by keep on sucking.
Yeah. Good safe podcast. Anyway, did you have the Flintstones push pops?
I did not. I was a poor family. We had Flintstones vitamins, though.
Oh, okay. Flintstones, staying alive by vitamins and maybe push pops sometimes, and Fruity Pebbles.
Yummy.
Yummy, yummy.
Flintstones made a lot of sugary shit.
I mean, they're still actively making sugary shit, so, It's the only way, gotta get that Hanna-Barbera money somehow, even though Warner Brothers owns them now. Warner Brothers gotta get that money somehow, so. I think they had Flintstones vitamins since, like the 70s or something, right?
Before there was Flintstone cigarettes.
You're not wrong.
You ever see that ad where the Fred is singing about?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
That was when they let anyone do product placement for anything, not realizing, hey, maybe we shouldn't let the cartoon characters, advertise cigarettes. Maybe that's a bad idea.
Might have been a bad idea.
Fun fact, the Flintstones was the first TV show to show a married couple sharing the same bed. So,
Scandalous.
Yeah, scandalous. Or I think the first animated TV show. I don't remember if the first one or the
Are
first
they
animated
married,
one.
though? Because they're cavemen. So they're before Christianity. How can they celebrate Christmas?
I think you're thinking about it too much, Riddle. You're not wrong, though. They had prehistoric Jesus. Everything's just, badly translated. So
okay.
They had prehistoric...
Okay.
Haven't you heard of Dinosaur Jesus? You've read the New Testament. I haven't, so...
That's the Old New Testament. That's BC New Old.
That's the one that's still... That's what the Ten Commandments,
yeah,
still described on the...
It's in the Bible, too.
Other fun fact, that's where the word canon comes from, because that used to be a biblical term before it was just a general fictional term. So,
right. Canon in the Bible.
And now we're just
ranting.
Now we're just ranting. Yeah. So why don't we do the news before we start? So
before we get too confused. Good idea.
Before we get too confused. So why don't you do your story that you found, and I'll do my story that I found.
I think it's an exciting story. So Nintendo, you hear about them trying to do that Mario movie?
The Chris Pratt one?
The Chris Pratt one, where he goes, it's me, Mario. So Nintendo acquired an animation studio, and that's going to become Nintendo Pictures. What this means is a new line of Nintendo series of CGI stuff. If you remember back in the early 90s and the late 80s, Nintendo had a series of cartoon stuff in America, The Legend of Zelda and the Super Mario Super Show and stuff like that.
Is that where the bad Legend of Zelda...
Yeah, where they excuse me, princess.
Yeah, okay.
With the Zelda with brown hair.
Yes. Okay, that's how I'm aware of it.
And Captain N, the game master.
Okay.
Yep. So they're going to try it again. They're going to do it again. But this time they're going to do stuff like Death Stranding and Persona 5 and Metroid. So they're going to try some different things.
Well, I'm all for, exploring, pre-existing IP with a more flexible form of, media. So, I mean, I've heard I know this is not Nintendo. I know there's been talk, or I don't know if it's already greenlit or whatever, but there's a Resident Evil thing coming out for Netflix and whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, I'm all for that. I think other companies that aren't Disney just need to find their, a good place that they can get their product distributed well. And, then they can just tell whatever. It doesn't really matter about the box office because...
Well, you gotta be careful you give your license to, or else you get Super Mario Super Show.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully they're giving it to the right creative people and they're doing their research about distribution and all that stuff, but,
Or Sonic the Hedgehog.
Wasn't there a good CGI Sonic that came out, in the last, 10 years or so?
Yeah, the Sonic the Hedgehog movies. Those were pretty good.
Well, besides that one. An all CGI show.
Yeah, Sonic Boom. That was made in Canada.
Okay.
By the French Canadians.
Good job, French Canadians.
You did good.
Okay. So, do you know when they'll start rolling out content?
No clue.
Okay. Well, I guess
it's just up in the works. They got licenses out there and names saved in case they become projects, so no one else snatches them up because copyright law is a bitch.
It sure is. Okay, so we only have 2 stories today. So my story is about something that was popping up in social media. Craig McCracken. You might know Craig McCracken from me not pronouncing his name correctly. It's a lot of C's. So anyway, so do you remember the 2016 Powerpuff Girls show that everyone didn't like and the internet hated forever?
Yep.
So that ended. So someone at Cartoon Network was like, hey, maybe that was a bad idea. Maybe we shouldn't have done that. So now they're moving forward, especially since Kid Cosmic is over and Wander Over Yonder is over. Those are 2 big ones that Craig was doing in between that time because he could still get shows pitched because he has a good repertoire of original character stuff. But anyway, Cartoon Network people were like, hey, maybe we should give it to the person who did it good the first time, so the thing turns out good.
What was wrong with the other writer for the Powerpuff Girls? What possibly did he do that was bad?
Are you asking that rhetorically?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah, people have heard the self-insert.
The self-insert, recasting the original VAs is just a starting point. The plots themselves were just not. I've only seen things. I never sat down and watch it but from my understanding, the plots weren't strong, and they just kind of were throwing stuff at the wall because they didn't really know how to work with the characters. But Cartoon Network was like, or Warner Brothers, which owns Cartoon Network, was like, money, we want money.
I just heard there was a lot of drama with one episode where a child wanted to become a unicorn, so it was a really, really in bad faith kind of allegory for transitioning, and that was ick. Yeah.
Nowadays, studios should definitely do some research about that, or at least contact organizations. They do that when there's, making allegories to specific cultures. Back in the day, the Pony episode where they had the allegory for Native Americans with the buffalo,
right.
They actually contacted, some organization as far as representation to make that episode to make sure they made it correctly. So obviously they did not do that with Powerpuff Girls, from what I can tell, or what it sounds like. So
they did not.
It's there. Those organizations are happy to work with you because they're excited about representation. So just press the button. Get it from the
horse's mouth.
Get it from the horse's mouth. I get it. I get it. So they're rebooting the Powerpuff Girls, assumingly for HBO Max, and then as well as Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, which I wasn't as big of a fan of, but I know it has its fans, and I know it's fun and stuff, so that's always good.
I like Blue. He's a little terror.
We've already said shit in the podcast.
Dang it. So. I'm trying to be good.
You're trying to be good, but we already messed it up somehow.
We already messed up.
Yeah, so now it's got to be we curse sometimes in the episode, so.
I'm a sailor now.
Sailor boy. So something Riddle is an expert in is Pokemon lore, right, Riddle?
I'm a big Pokemaniac.
You're gotta catch 'em all, right?
Gotta catch 'em all, Pokemon.
Why don't you talk about your history with the franchise first before we go into history of the actual franchise?
My history with the franchise, okay.
It got personal.
Yeah, it did. Well, my history of the franchise is just like everyone else, we heard of Pokemon back in like 1998, 1999, red and blue, and then yellow, then gold and silver, Pokemania, the card games, the TV show was all big hype, and everyone was involved in that. And it was something that we would play as me and my family. I have 4 brothers and 1 sister, so I have a really big family. But Pokemon was something that we can all play together because we had like the link trading and stuff, and the playing with each other. And it was just in the Game Boys were relatively cheap compared to like a Super Nintendo or an N64. So that was the games we bonded over, and we would be able to play with each other if we because I live with like half of my family sometime and half with the other because I come from a dwarf family, so it was a way for us to connect, and we played throughout all the generations to the point where I got pretty good at the game, and was able to play competitively about like the 4th and the 5th gen of Pokemon, but this is like much later. This is like in 2008, 2009, and played competitively in, I think it was Texas at the time I was living in, and got pretty good. I liked my doubles, and I don't know, we formed a Pokemon clubs, played the trading cards, until my mom decided to sell all the cards, but that's just me. There's a funny story behind that. Let's see, they wanted to sell the cards in order to buy boxes, but
I think we mentioned that like briefly at another episode, but you can go into more detail of that if you want, since we are talking about, this is the Pokemon episode, so.
Yeah, they sold it to a neighbor kid, so I guess as long as they got played with, I guess I'm not too salty about it, but man, I think my mom only sold them for like $20, and they're probably worth like, I don't know, at least $1,000 because it's the first base set, and the base set commons and uncommons are each worth $1 now, and I had just boatloads of them.
Wow.
Just ridiculous.
You want a moment of silence for Riddle's Pokemon card deck?
Rip in peace. My Haymaker deck, all gone.
I don't know what these words mean, so,
Even back in the first generation of Pokemon, people were able to figure out, a metagame in order to figure out what decks beat what. So Haymaker was the best deck, but there were definitely better decks out there. There was I think there was an Alakazam deck that was pretty good because you could move damage counters around. And let's see what else was floating around at the time. Rain Dance wasn't necessarily a thing yet. That's with Blastoise, but I don't think that really picked up steam until Jungle Set, I think. Sorry, I'm rambling into real, nerdy stuff right now. I'm sorry for the.
It's okay.
I had a really good deck, and it got sold for boxes, and I'm not happy about that.
Well, your mom is not the best person.
My mom does her best.
Okay, yeah. So, my experience with Pokemon, it will be brief because it is brief. So, I was really into it when it just came out in 97, 98, whatever it was back in the day. So,
oh yeah, I'm a bit older than you, so you were just a little thing back then.
I was a little bit thing for my 10-year-old For my 10-year-old birthday party, I got a Pokemon cake, and does that make you feel old? And then, I had the original 150 Pokemon memorized back in the day. And now, ironically, as I've gotten older, all of my nostalgic things have kind of come with me because it's how I express art and how I reinterpret things. And I think people... the whole point of the podcast and just the general content is getting people to revisit things that they grew up with and being like, oh, right, X thing was pretty rad. I haven't watched in a while. Like, maybe I should watch it and, more than just, like...
Activate that neuron.
Yeah, instead of just consuming the thing and forgetting about it. And I think streaming is helping with that in general because it's just easier access to just older generations of stuff.
As a warning, though, watching the original Pokemon series is not as good as I remember it, to be honest.
Okay, I'm not planning on rewatching the original Pokemon series anytime soon, but that's just a general disclaimer, right?
Yeah, just general. It's not my rose-tinted glasses are kind of blinding.
So anyway, but yeah, I kind of just grew out of Pokemon. When I was I think when I was 8 or 7, I was really dead set on becoming a Pokemon trainer. When I became 10 and just leaving town and just you're allowed to do that, right?
Capture a dog, teach it to surf.
See, I mean, it's like the same thing, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm just kind of slowly starting to get back into it. I play Pokemon Go, and when Riddle and I are doing conventions, I famously bother him to get some of his Pokemon.
Pokemon Go, give me your Pokemon.
Because he has multiple copies of the original 150 and I don't, so but that's the only time I'll play it. So I guess I don't really remember much about the original Pokemon. I remember Ash. I remember they replaced Ash. No, they replaced all the voice actors at some point. They replaced Brock and Misty at some point. I remember watching
with Terry.
Who?
Terry, the photographer. He was the first person to replace Brock.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant Harry as in my dead dog, Harry. And I was just I don't remember that.
No, that'd be sad.
But yeah, okay. So anyway, I'll just stop rambling about things I don't know about. So, and let Riddle start talking. So Riddle, tell us about the before times of the Pokemon. How did it start?
Before times. Well, if we want to talk about the history of Pokemon, we have to talk about its founder of Game Freak, Satoshi Tajiri. So, Satoshi Tajiri, he was born in Japan. As a kid, he was kind of like you. He wanted to go outside and explore around, and he wanted to instead of capture little animals, he wanted to capture bugs. And he wanted to be, in fact, as a child, an entomologist. That's the study of insects, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was basically his childhood. He was in rural Tokyo. But Tokyo experienced this giant boom when it came to urbanization. So the kind of the kind of area that he lived in just quickly urbanized, and so he didn't have the opportunity to go out in nature and hunt for bugs anymore. So by the time he was in middle school, arcades start popping up everywhere in Tokyo because it was the 80s, and Satoshi. I'm kind of rambling, but we have to get a foundation on Satoshi in order to know Pokemon and its roots. So in middle school, he played an arcade, and this got him this fascination with video games. He played Space Invaders. He was so involved in video games, in fact, that he would do really bad in school. He almost didn't graduate from high school, and he had no aspiration to go into university. Eventually, he did do a 2-year major in electronic science, but he really didn't want to do anything really with it.
Why couldn't he be a bug doctor?
He wanted to be an entomologist, but the expansion of Tokyo made it kind of impossible to be a local entomologist because all the bugs got driven away. All that's left is cockroaches. But
He'd be cockroach doctor.
Yep. In 1982, he makes a fan magazine about video game media called Game Freak, and as we know, Game Freak is the studio that made Pokemon. It was originally just a strategy guide to tell you how to get through games and new release of games and Easter eggs, mainly around arcade games at the time. See, and he would sell them I think for about 200 yen each, which would be $2.85 in American dollars, and that was quite a lot at the time. But because there wasn't really a lot of media out there at the time, he really cornered a market. His fan magazines were what you'd imagine a Xerox magazine. I don't know if even the kids have magazines these days.
That's a magazine, Riddle.
Well, no, but he would make them out of paper and staple them themselves, and it was photocopied. It was very ghetto. but he would be able to sell a lot of them. He, like, at one point he sold like 10,000 copies of his most popular run. So these things really caught on, and he had so much work that he would get his little sister and his mother to help them make their fan magazines. So Game Freak was starting to boom as a magazine, as a magazine company, but like Satoshi Tajiri did a lot of the work himself, including the art. So he kind of needed help. So he got someone named Ken Sugimori to come in to help be the artist in Game Freak. And Ken Sugimori is another big name in Pokemon and in Game Freak. And so they keep on making these fan magazines until, let's see, I think in 1983 Nintendo released the Famicom, which was the SNES, not the SNES, the just the normal. It's not the Super Nintendo. It's just the normal Nintendo series in 1983, and that's what we call it in America, I guess. And he was really fascinated with it. He wanted to understand the hardware. They have this. They have like this program called, like, I think Famicom Basic or Family Basic. That's what it's called. Sorry, Family Basic. And he wanted to make games for Nintendo. But if you want to make games for Nintendo, you need something called a license. And they couldn't get a license because they're just making fan magazines. So what they did, which was kind of smart, is they find people who had license with Nintendo, and then they would pitch their ideas to these people that already have the license with Nintendo, and then they knew some programming, and they got on. And like the first ever quote unquote Game Freak game was a game called Quinty, or it's called Mandel Palace in America, which is simply a game where you flip squares to knock enemies into walls. That's all the game was, but it was the first Game Freak game before Pokemon, and that was their first foray, like in 1983. And like they don't start doing anything for a while. They're still doing their fan magazines. In 1987, a game called Dragon Quest II. Do you know that game, KP?
Oh yeah. I am familiar with that game because that game was made by Don Bluth, and he did things.
Well, no, that's I think that's King's Quest. Is that?
No, I'm pretty sure it's called Dragon's Quest.
Dragon Quest. Well, in 1987, there was a game called Dragon Quest for the Nintendo, and well, basically they weren't involved in that game, but Ken and Satoshi would play the game together, and they would compare their runs together. And one time, Tajiri got really, really upset because Ken got two really rare items called like Madcaps, and he was just so upset that his friend got two, and it was just really rare, and then he got 0, and this kind of stuck in his head for a while until 1989 when the Game Boy was released. And what was interesting about the Game Boy is I think it's like the first system to have like a cable in order to connect between two games. And
sorry to interrupt you. The game is called Dragon's Lair, so that's why I was confused.
Yep. Sorry.
Anyway.
Yep. Different game. This was an RPG game. The Dragon's Quest 2. So the Game Boy was released in 1989, and this got this really inspired Satoshi Tajiri because he saw it as an opportunity for players to trade rare items between each other. Like he thought about this Dragon Quest game and how upset he couldn't get an item while his friend got duplicates of the same rare item. And so he thought about like how these things can be used for not just competitively playing against each other, but to help each other. Mm-hmm. And so he took that idea with him, and and I think a year later he started brainstorming Capsule Monsters, which is the proto form of Pokemon. It was originally called Capsule Monsters. So he pitched this idea to Nintendo in its like basic proto form, and it caught the eye of like Shigeru Miyamoto, and Shigeru basically took Satoshi as his apprentice and like try to teach him the ways on how to program good for Nintendo. And so Capsule Monsters kind of was in the running for like 6 years of development, which was super long development cycle for the time. Like we think of games now having like really long development cycles, but 6 years was just unheard of in the late 80s, early 90s.
Well, I imagine because, our games are a lot of open world exploration kind of things. They just have to make everything versus like a more streamlined, platforming game. You just press buttons and you jump, and that's really it.
Yep. So, but with how long the dev cycle was for Capsule Monsters, which will eventually become Pokemon, like they had to take on like little jobs along the way so that they could actually keep Game Freak running, because they get some money from Nintendo. That only goes so far, so you have to like take out contract jobs in between your main goal. And so like they made a game where he's a slime named Jerry. I'm trying to remember what the game was called. Smart Ball, that's what it was called. And let's see, they get bounced around a little bit. In order to get into Game Boy programming, they first talk with like the Earthbound creator. Then they get bounced to Kenpai Yokai. He had to release a Yoshi game in 6 months, and the Game Freak took it on, and they were able to meet the deadline, which was really big. And so the Nintendo was impressed with. They're like, wow, you did that thing. Here's a license for a Mario game. And Nintendo very rarely, gives out licenses directly for Mario games. You got to work for it, and they make the game Mario and Wario for the Super Nintendo. I think in 1995 they work for the rival Sega for a game called Pulse Man, which is kind of like Mega Man, I guess, but it's from Sega. At this time, like they're working on these like individual projects, and they're also trying to develop Pokemon. Like Satoshi would work these cycles of work for he'd work for like 24 hours and then sleep for 12 and then do it all over again. Like he was working himself to the bone. In fact, Satoshi, like when it came to budget issues, like sometimes he couldn't even pay his workers, and they would literally like stop working for him. But like money was so scarce, like he didn't pay himself for all this time he's making games. He didn't give himself a dime, and he was like living off of his parents' money. Which like it's just for you guys trying to have a dream and stuff. Like you're not the only one that's trying to make it there. The Pokemon's like is now the biggest media franchise in the world. Like even the creator of Pokemon was living off his off his parents' dime for
if you're living off your parents' dime, then you're doing it the right way.
You're doing it the right way. So yeah, like the development cycle is long. There's a lot of changes from what it started off as and where it went to. Some of the important changes were like he wanted the Pokemon not to die. He wanted them only to faint because he thought there was just too much cruelty in the world. Like there's just very subtle changes over time. Towards the end of the cycle, they still had the name Capsule Monsters, but then they found out that name was already taken by someone else. So they ran into trademark issues. And like they try to think of new names like Kapu Monsters or Capumon, and then they settled on the name Pocket Monsters, which is the name in Japan. In Japan, it's Pocket Monsters, and then localization shortened it to Pokemon, so it didn't start off as just Pokemon. So in February 26, 1996, the Pokemon was released in Japan with very, very low expectations by Nintendo. They thought it wasn't going to sell a lot, but it sold quite a lot. People were even buying, like it released with both green and red version. This is Japan versions of the game. And people were buying in, let's see, I went a little too far. Like when it, Suguro Miyamoto suggested that they release the game as 2 games instead of just one, so that one game has exclusive Pokemon and the other one has other exclusive Pokemon, so to encourage trading between them. But what happened was people were buying both games, so essentially you were doubling your sales because
that's one way to do it.
Yeah, because people wanted to get all the Pokemon themselves, and so this kind of encouraged people to buy more games. Game Freak quickly collaborated with a manga series, and then they collaborated with a Media Factory to start commissioning the first Pokemon cards. This was like in October, so like the game released in February. On October, they're starting to branch into other media, and then they're trying to get a TV show released in that same time too. So game releases, they start getting some success, but the success didn't really like explode until what something particularly weird happened. Mew, you know Mew in Pokemon, right?
Right, the Mew Mew.
Yep, the 151st Pokemon. It was actually programmed in as a prank by it was only meant for like the game developers, and only game developers could have access to it. Mm-hmm. But like that information leaked from Game Freak, and it was started to spread from word of mouth, and so they decided to make it official. Hey, this is a Pokemon in the game, and they released like a Pokemon card in their manga as an exclusive card. And then they said, okay, we'll have a contest. We'll distribute 151 legitimate Mews, and that created like positive word of mouth. So by the end of like 1997, like they kind of had a rough start, but then at the end of 1997, Red and Green sold 4.6 million copies in Japan alone.
Yeah, so it sounds like it was just all marketing by like making things exclusive, and I guess it wasn't as known as far as people just OCD as far as collecting all the things. Yep. So,
Yep. And then in 1998 it arrived in America. So, and then they thought, oh, America, it's not gonna go very good. It might sell a few copies, and if that does so, we're happy because Japan, we already sold enough here. But no, we had Pokemania here in America, and it's been here. It's still around. Never left.
So when it was distributed in America, what specifically came out? Was it just the games, or was it the games and the card?
It just started off with the games at first, and then like literally a month later, the cards and the anime. So you didn't have that kind of like waiting period like you had in Japan. It was almost immediately, and it created such a rush of media that I think a lot of schools were banning cards at school because people were playing them in class and getting in trouble. I remember, like back in elementary school, we'd bring our Pokemon cards to the playground, and we'd play playground rules. Like we didn't actually know the rules of the game, and just whoever had the biggest, shiniest card won, and it was silly.
Is that how you win the game? Is that how they play in the competitive league?
No, you actually have to follow rules. It's actually the trainer. Yeah. It's actually the trainer cards that are the most powerful cards in the first base set, because they do all kinds of things like deck thinning and adding card advantage and removing energies, which were all very broken things if you actually played the game right. But no one wanted to learn the game properly right away. Just people were just running around with a shiny card and like, I have the best.
You have the best one. Yeah, I remember we didn't know how to play the games when I was back in my day, so we just played like with War, but with the highest HP set of the Pokemon.
Yep.
It worked. So the Pokemania happened.
Let's see what happened next. In 1999, Pokemon Gold and Silver released. Tajiri was more of a he became more of a manager than a director of the games. But that sold like 23 million copies, and then in Gen 3 and Ruby and Sapphire, Junichi Musada, butchered his name, became the director, and Satoshi Tajiri kind of sat back and like was technically an executive, but only really directed the game beats, and ever since then he's been kind of a recluse. But he's the guy who made Pokemon, and it's the highest media franchise in the world, beating out Star Wars, Mickey Mouse, and Hello Kitty.
I was gonna say, good. The real MVPs are his parents, right? Who were just supporting him throughout all this.
Yeah, his parents here's some money, I guess. In a year, we'll help you with your silly little comic. The fan magazine, a fanzine. That's what they were called back then, fanzines. Fun fact: Satoshi Tajiri, the name of the protagonist in Japan is Satoshi. In fact, it's kind of like a self-insert for him in the games.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Wow. So, why don't you talk about like what are the different forms of Pokemon media that's going on today, and like what are the different incarnations? Because I know a lot of people. Go ahead.
Yeah, the anime's still going. I have no clue what season there are on now, or what it's called, but I know it's still going because I see clips of it on YouTube.
I thought you were the expert.
I am the expert, but I've kind of in the recent couple years kind of drifted away from Pokemon a little bit. I haven't really played terribly too much. Pokemon Arceus was the latest big release, and that
we got it. We got to stop the podcast. We don't have the Pokemon expert.
I know we have to get the real Pokemon expert in here. But Pokemon Arceus was the last big release, and that one did fairly well because they kind of mixed up the format a bit. So you sneak around and you try to catch the Pokemon in a.
So what are like the general vibes of the game for people who like
general vibes
barely remember the game, and like I know you go around and collect Pokemon, but
yeah,
like
it is a slow turn based RPG kind of game where you use your set of team in learning about type advantage, try to explore a world, and try to reach an end game, which is defeating the Elite Four and catching all Pokemon in your game, and then at that point you beat the game. That is the way that the games are intended to be built, and that's how each mainline series game sort of performs. Is you start off a game with a Pokemon, you get a little feel for the game, and then you defeat challenges called gym leaders, and you progress yourself through the game until you reach the penultimate Elite Four, and then you become the quote-unquote champion of your game, and then you spend the rest of the time filling out your Pokédex and building your team.
So do people purposely not win the game so they can keep all their Pokemon?
You can keep your Pokemon and win the game. There is no end to the game until you decide to end it and start anew.
Oh, okay. I thought it would be like a thing where, like, once you finish the game, quote unquote, you like it wipes you and like start a new game, kind of.
Nope, it doesn't do that, which is a good idea.
Yeah, that is a good idea.
People get attached to their children. There are different ways of playing the game. In recent years, Pokemon has gotten popular play set, which is called the Nuzlocke, which is you play the game, and if your Pokemon faint, is going against the vision of Satoshi Tajiri, your Pokemon quote dies, and so you have to release the Pokemon because that Pokemon was defeated.
Oh no!
So you only get one shot with your Pokemon, and you only get one shot per zone in the game to catch a new one. So it's kind of like the anime where Ash would go to one area and only catch a Pokemon. It's kind of, I guess that's kind of inspired by the anime.
Okay. And so, like, what is the basic plot of the anime then?
Basic plot of the anime, you have this character named Ash, and he wants to catch them all. It's very simple.
Does he ever catch them all, though?
No. And he's not the very best. Like no one ever was.
No. Who is the very best?
I don't know. Not Ash. I mean, he does win. He does win.
That'd be a good video. Who is the very best?
Yes, that would be a very good video. Who is the very best? He does win eventually. He does win a become a Pokemon champion once. So before we have a million comments in the comment section, yes, I know he did win once, and now the current arc in the Pokemon anime, he's in a competition with the other champions. They're in this bracket thing, and I don't know when this is going to get released, how far in that series is going to be. So I know what's going on in the anime a little bit.
Okay.
So I'm not totally out of the loop.
I believe you.
Yeah.
How do you play the game?
How do you play the game? Like the Game Boy game?
The card game.
The card game. So how to play the Pokemon card game. It's been a while since I played it, but since I was a small bean, I think I can remember it. You have a deck. It has to be 60 cards, I think. It's made of assortment of Pokemon cards, energy cards, and trainer cards. And you use these cards to win the game. How do you win the game? Is you have an area called the prize area, and you have 6 prize cards. And by knocking out your opponent's Pokemon, or knocking out all your opponent's Pokemon, you win the game. Or if you knock out 6, then you collect you collect a prize for each Pokemon you knock out, so when you collect all 6, you win. And there are new types of Pokemon like XE and so on, and they give you different prize distribution for being more powerful, so you don't necessarily need to knock out 6. I'm kind of rambling at this point. And what you do is you start off with a hand of cards, you set them out, and you go one at a time, and you declare attacks at each other and use Pokemon powers and trainer cards to slowly whittle down your opponent's team, and you win.
So how do you keep track of, like, attacks and, like, you know, do you have to, like, roll dice, kind of like D&D to...
There's some RNG factors in some moves, but what happens is you just declare an attack, and it does usually a set amount of damage, and then you use probably a die. Yeah, back in the day, we had these little glass beads to assign damage, but now, because Pokemon HPs are now so high, dice is more efficient because everyone has 20-sided dice, and you just take a spin down die, and that's just easier to keep track of. Back when, like, the highest HP count was 120, and everything deals damage in sets of 10. You'd only need at most, let's see, like 12 little glass beads on your side to keep track of your own active Pokemon's damage. Bench Pokemon, which are the Pokemon in your back row, can have damage on them, but I don't know, if you're switching a lot, then you're actually doing competitive gameplay, and if you're doing competitive gameplay, you're probably using dice at this point. So you're probably using 6-sided dice or a 20-sided die to keep track, because that's just easier than a bunch of little glass beads.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, like, you would roll the dice in order to, you know, like, find the way of a successful attack if it's, like, a rare attack or something?
Well, there are some attacks that say flip a coin. If you get heads, you do a thing. This was in a base set. I think the only attacks that really rely on flips a lot was Electabuzz's first attack, which was Thundershock, which has a chance of paralyzing, which makes your opponent lose basically a turn of attacking, which is pretty big, but it only did like 10 damage, so it only tickled the opponent. And then Thunder Punch, which flip a coin. If heads, you deal 10 extra damage. If tails, you do 10 damage to yourself. So that was, I think, the only Pokemon that saw play that you would flip a coin for. Yeah, but most Pokemon are pretty basic. So you had Hitmonchan with a move Jab, just 1 energy. You attach it on him, and he does 20 damage, and that's it. No attacks, no nothing. Yeah, but it was just efficient, and it would bonk your opponent down, and it deal with your opponent's Electabuzzes until they switch in a Doduo just to hang in there. Then you have to use Special Punch or switch out to your Electabuzz, because Electabuzz deals double damage to Dudo, and then Duodo has a 0 retreat cost, so he runs away.
I have no idea what you're saying.
I'm sorry.
What are these words?
The Doduo, it's the bird with 2 heads.
Oh, okay, that's a lot of heads.
Yeah, and Dodrio has 3 heads, but I think base set didn't have the entire set of Pokemon, so like you had Doduo, but you didn't have the evolution to Dodrio, and you didn't have Dodrio in that set. You had to wait until like set 2 or Jungle. I forget which set Dodrio came out of, but you had to wait for the next set.
Did you see Detective Pikachu?
What?
Detective
Pikachu?
Yeah. Tell me about Detective Pikachu.
Detective Pikachu was an okay movie, but it's weird as hell. I've seen some people talk about it, and I kind of see it now that it is a giant Christian allegory, and now it has ruined my viewing experience of the movie, and it's kind of okay, I guess.
How is it a Christian allegory?
Because I forget the kind of the methodology, but like they refer to the main character as the son a lot, and the Pikachu is technically the son's father or the father, and he gets reincarnated in some kind of mumbo jumbo. It is I don't know it's been a while since I watched it, but now if I watch it, I can't stop thinking about the Christian allegory, and it ruins my viewing experience. Like, man, I just wanted to watch the funny Pokemon game where the guy throws the Pokeball at the Cubone, and the Cubone doesn't like it, and he smacks him with the bone.
my god. That's thanks internet. You ruined the one thing we're to like Pokemon.
You ruined it. Well, no, the Pokemon movie was pretty mid. It's okay.
Do you know anything about how they remade the Pokemon movie? Because they did that like a couple years ago.
Yeah. They redid like the first movie, which they labeled the first movie. That was very cocky of them. But
was it not the first movie?
It was the first movie, but like to name your movie the first movie is to assume that more will come in the future, which which was a good call, but really that was a cocky move. But they did remake it in like 3D, and it's okay. They kind of changed some things, and they removed like I think a lot of the soundtracks. I think that were a bit better. So it felt like a cash grab to me. I didn't like it that much. In fact, with like all the Pokemon movies, I think the only one I enjoy is the third one with the Entei in it, because that's actually a very gripping story. I think it was very like you actually had some stakes involved. It was kind of weird what they did with it. Like, did you see the third movie of Pokemon?
No, I just know they made more after that first one.
Yep. So if I want to suggest you watch a Pokemon movie, I think the third one's the only good one. So if you're gonna watch one, watch that one, because it's about a little girl that loses her father and then it just gets lost in her PTSD and then gets involved with some magical Pokemon called Unknown, which were able to warp reality around her based on her childhood fantasies and stories told by her missing father. And Entei sort of becomes a supplicant father figure to the girl, and then Ash gets involved because Entei steals his mom because she also lost her mom as well, so she was all alone, and she isolates herself in her own world of fantasies and warps reality to what a child thinks reality is, and I think it was kind of neat.
Is this the one where Ash dies?
No, Ash dies in the first one, and then he lives.
Oh, okay. Isn't there another one where he dies?
That's more Jesus allegory. Thanks. Ash dies. I think he dies another time too in like the Jirachi movie.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, I think he dies in the Jirachi movie and then he comes back. I mean, Ash doesn't stay dead.
They keep on trying.
They keep on trying, but you can't keep him down.
You know, why won't Jesus no, I was going to say, why won't Jesus die? But I'm just like, oh, wait.
Why won't you die? Nano machine, son.
So,
Magnemite machine, son.
So, Pokemon, I imagine competitive Pokemon competitions are still like a thing, right?
Oh yeah, there's most definitely certainly a thing. A lot of it is done online to try to get yourself some ranks up. There's now like ladder systems, and you try to boost up your rank, and then if you get a rank high enough, you attend a tournament in your area, and usually it's hosted by the Pokemon Company. They have like regionals, and then you go to the national, and then you go to the worlds.
Yeah, the Pokemon companies are the. Oh, do you have any insight to tell as far as Pokemon Go, as far as how that's going?
Pokemon Go is go. I don't know. It's still going.
It just won't end.
Yep, they add little new mechanics once in a while, and I guess it's doing fine.
Well, I guess it's a good way for people to get into it because it's free, you know.
Yeah, and I was involved with it quite a bit when it first came out. You walk around, you go to a stop, you press the stop, you catch the Pokemon. Now they have like a Team Rocket, so you can beat up a Team Rocket. You still want to hold on to gyms. You got big raids, and so getting other people involved, you have to find local people that are actually involved with the game, and you set out a time to meet up, and then you all punch the Pokemon at the mailbox station. What's that thing called?
The post office?
Where does all the mail come from? The post office.
The post office?
Yes.
The mailbox station?
The mailbox station. That's where the mailboxes come from. I know things.
Oh, you trying so hard, Riddle.
I'm sorry. I am dumb, and I'm trying my best.
They should have a mailbox Pokemon. That'd be a fun idea.
They have Pelipper, which is a
what
delivery
is that?
Pokemon. It's a big old seagull with a big old pelican beak. And
speaking of that, you know what might be fun? Like, can you explain the convoluted way Pokemon gets around the sexy topics?
So in order to get around involvements of sex, I think the current, not the current, I think back in the day in Gen 2, how they got around it is that Pokemon do not actually lay eggs. What they do is they pair off, and then a Pokemon named Celebi travels through time and drops off an egg at the pairing Pokemon and saying, like, here is your child. So it's like the stork, but with time travel.
It's a lot of steps.
Yeah, a lot of steps. And I don't know if this is still true, or if this is canon, but this is how it used to be, and I'm sticking to it. I like the convoluted Doctor Who eggs. I think that's funny.
Why can't Well, what about the people? The people have to go to time travel and stuff. I'm stuttering. Do the people have to time travel to reproduce, Riddle?
That's how it happens in real life. Didn't you know?
Oh man, no one ever told me.
Yep, that's why we have general relativity. The faster you go, the more time slows around you.
Wow, it's a lot of steps.
A lot of steps.
Oh, my last question for you, Riddle, is so who is Ash's dad?
Who is Ash's dad? Good question. MatPat says it's Giovanni, and there are some hints that it might be so, but in the anime, I think they do, point at his father being a mystery person that was involved with another character that was in the initial series. We don't know his name. He only shows up for one episode, and he just says he's from Palatown, and he's an older male, so that's assumed to be Ash's father.
I mean, I thought that was a more exciting answer.
Yeah, it's not a lot going on. The only really exciting revelation that ever came from Lineage is that in the Pokemon Gold and Silver games, you had an antagonist named, well, I guess his name is Red. He's the guy with the red hair. And people assumed that his father was Giovanni, and eventually they retconned it into the game series when they remake Gold and Silver to actually show him having a conversation with Giovanni, just proving that that you are my son.
Oh, really? So it's like slightly established. I thought it was like just a mystery.
Well, when it came to this character in Gold and Silver, like the antagonist character that bullies you.
What a healthy relationship.
A healthy relationship indeed. Eventually, it mellows out. He's not such an asshole, but. Yeah, he starts off as a real bad guy. He breaks into the professor's zone and takes away whatever Pokemon's better against yours, because of course he does, and you have to beat him up along the way as he appears.
That's a lot of. Sorry, I'm just confused at this point because that's just a lot of convolution.
Welcome to Pokemon games. It's you go along and someone decides he wants to beat you up and then you win.
Go Pokemon.
Go Pokemon.
So, I guess where can people go if they want to learn more about Pokemon? Where are some good sites?
Pokemon.com. Another place with a lot of general knowledge is a place called Cerebi.net, or I think it's .com. I forget which of the two. If you want to just play the game and get a feel for the game itself, there's a program online called Pokemon Showdown. If you just want to play the RPG kind of aspect of the game, there are plenty of ROMs out there to play on it if you don't have like the money, but you shouldn't do that unless you actually have an actual copy of the game. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Don't be a pirate.
Yar har.
Yar har. To experience it for yourself. And there's also just people just playing the Pokemon game, and it just might be just enjoyable just to sit down and watch and get a feel for it and figure out why people like the game before you get into it. And sometimes you don't even need to play a game to enjoy a community too. Some people just like to do art. Some people just like to do just side tangent. fan material, and that's what gets people involved into fandoms themselves. They don't necessarily have to like be involved into a certain thing in order to call themselves a fan. Like, you don't need to play the Pokemon game and to be a Pokemon fan. You don't need to collect the cards. You don't need to watch the anime. As long as you have a general knowledge of it and you enjoy the media, I think that you're just good enough. You can be a fan.
Anyone can be a fan that wants to.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they have Pokemon competitions at conventions, right?
Yeah, I mean, any given convention has like either card game stuff, or sometimes they'll have the physical Game Boy kind of play. Maybe not so much now because everything's online now on the Switch, but because of COVID. But hey, who knows? You just talk to your local convention. If they don't have a competition, you can say, hey, let's do one. That's how most video game competitions end up. You got someone that likes to play Super Smash Brothers, like, hey, let's have a competition here, this local convention. They'll say, okay, as long as you organize it, and you say, okay, and then you Google online, how do I organize a competition for video games? And then you read that article, and then you know what to do.
Sounds super hard.
It's really not. I believe in you guys.
Okay, I guess we can wrap up. Do
the poker rap.
Do the poker.
Diglett, Electro, Diglett.
Well, I didn't know that was a thing. Now we should just end.
You don't know the poker? You don't know the poker rap?
No. What?
In between, let's see, the first and second act of any of the Pokemon anime is broken up with the Pokemon rap, which they'll list a series of Pokemon in a rhythmic style by the widest person you know.
Wow, that's.
Yep. So it's like a Diglett, Electrode, Diglett, Pikachu, Diglett, Magmar, Diglett. I don't remember the Pokemon rap.
What kind of fan are you?
I am the worst fan. I am literally the worst. I am doing my best like no one ever was, but I am failing.
It's Diglett.
It's Diglett. Who's that Pokemon? It's Diglett.
It's your mom.
Oh no. My Diglett. My mom is a Diglett. My Diglett's a mom.
Who's that Pokemon? It's Ash's disappeared father, so no one's there.
Oh. Oh, Satoshi doesn't mind. So I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast today, and if you learned something, that is wonderful. I'm very glad to have talked about one of the things I can nerd out about. KP, is there anything else you want to add?
No, I can't think of any more Pokemon. Who is your favorite Pokemon? Riddle?
Sandshrew.
Sandshrew. Why Sandshrew?
He fat.
He fat?
He roll.
So it's aesthetics.
Yeah, he's the best. He's made out of bricks, and he's kind of cute.
So, my
How
favorite...
about you?
Who's your favorite starter?
Oh, starter, it's probably Squirtle, because I'm a basic.
I mean, I hope it's Squirtle, because I gave you a Squirtle keychain the last convention, so you can't change your mind now.
Right.
So, and my favorites are Charmander for starter. I have a Charmander. I think at one of the cons last year, Riddle bought me a Charmander onesie. So, and then he bought himself 2 Pokemon onesies. So
yes, because I'm greedy.
So you got an Eevee and a Mewtwo, right?
Mewtwo. The Mewtwo is less cool. The Eevee one's better. Yeah.
You probably would. They had Charizard ones too, so you would have probably gotten a Charizard instead of the Mewtwo one, right?
Yeah, I think they were out of Charizards.
Yeah, that's my point. Is you probably just like, well, I gotta stick with Pokemon because it's on brand. So.
Hooray!
Yeah. And then I like Dragonite. As far as just general Pokemon, and you know.
He thick.
They're cute. They're so cute. I mean, they're all cute. Like from the Pokemon movie. Like they're all cute. So I can't pick one. So.
Definitely not Seal, because that's just a seal.
It's a seal with extra steps.
Yep. Comment down below if Seal's your favorite.
No, there was really bad puns in the Tangled series where they were trying to steal. One of the plots is the King and Eugene are trying to steal the royal seal, but it's actually a seal. Like it's a real seal. It's not like a stamp.
Bork.
And then there's another one that was a competition, and then the seal from the previously named episode has to give the seal of
Seal of approval.
I was dead. These puns were killing me. So anyway, watch the Tangled series. It's really good. If you haven't yet, it should be
Come to the Pokemon podcast. Watch the Tangled.
Yeah, just do whatever. So
it's probably better.
Yeah, if you're new to the podcast, welcome. We have a lot of episodes. And we do things. So Riddle is here, and we just got our new YouTube loopy thing on the YouTube channel. So we're still, as of this recording, we're still in the process of uploading all of the episodes on YouTube, but they will be there eventually. And Riddle's in the little loopy now, so he jumps around. I don't know if you knew that yet, Riddle, but you know.
I'm full of energy.
It's been updated. So, we do the podcast once a week. We release on Wednesdays, and, I don't really have any other new announcements. No new book cons since last time. So, all right. So, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week on Animation Kimmunication.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to Animation Kimmunication on YouTube, Spotify, or your favorite podcast provider. We are really hoping the show makes a difference in how people view animation as well as media as a whole, as well as giving and providing advice for people all over the world who like or want to join the animation and media industry. If you like what you heard, please remember to show support by giving a like, a follow, rating those 5 stars, as well as subscribing to our main I Love Kim Possible a Lot channel on YouTube, and turn your notification on. New episodes of Animation Kimmunication come out every Wednesday at 6 a.m. EST on podcasting platforms and 4 p.m. EST on YouTube. You can follow the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at the KP Podcast for information about upcoming guests, episodes, and more, as well as our hosts, KP and Riddle, at I Love KP a Lot and at Riddle Lightning on social media. I'm Kat, and thank you for being part of our community. See you next time on Animation Kimmunication.